Hi everyone, it's Rosie from Talking About BPD, and today I wanted to talk about self-harm and why self-harm is not a choice. It's not a simple choice that people do. It's not something that people decide in the way that you might decide whether you're going to have curry or fish and chips. It's something that's incredibly complex and something that is often so misunderstood, even by healthcare professionals, social care professionals. And actually, I overheard somebody quite recently in a position of quite a lot of power describe self-harm as a choice. And I fundamentally disagree with that, as somebody who has self-harmed in the past quite a lot, and somebody who has lots of friends and knows people who have self-harmed, and somebody who has kind of thought about it in an academic and professional context as well. And self-harm is an incredibly complicated issue and an incredibly complicated phenomenon that has been going on for many, many, many years. The reasons why people self-harm are very varied. Some people self-harm as a way of helping them to cope in that moment with incredibly distressing thoughts, feelings, emotions. Some people self-harm as part of a dissociation where that experience of reality and the experience of the outside world going on, and kind of mental states are very intense, or maybe they're very kind of numbed out, or kind of maybe in a state of paranoia as well. Some people might self-harm as a form of dealing with such overwhelming emotional pain that actually feeling a physical pain is a way of blocking out emotional pain, or a way of making the emotional pain feel bearable in a way. I know that when I've hurt myself in the past, physical pains felt really quite minimal compared to the emotional pain that I've been feeling. And really that just goes to show that if you're willing to hurt yourself, or you're hurting yourself in that moment, it's because your emotional pain is so intense. Also, on the reverse of that, sometimes people are not feeling anything at all, and they're actually feeling quite numb, and they're not feeling anything. So self-harm is a way to feel something. It can be a way to ground yourself back in the physical body if you're having dissociation, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. I wasn't very eloquent about it, but somehow to kind of ground yourself in the physical body. Maybe if there's a kind of a panic attack happening, or a kind of an out-of-body experience where something feels like dreamlike, or as if something's not quite real, it can be a way to root yourself back in that present moment and feel physically there in your own body. If you've been through some sort of trauma or some sort of really difficult experience, for example, for some people it can be a way of punishing themselves. If they've been through something and they feel really, really bad, it can be a way of like managing guilt and shame. And so for people who think of it as a simple choice of A and B, curry or chicken, or fish and chips or pizza, sorry, just need to let my dog out. There you go. Sorry about that. It's just something that's so incredibly complex and so multifaceted that really for somebody to suggest it's a choice is actually quite insulting. People often think that people who have drug and alcohol problems, for example, are choosing whether to take drugs or whether to drink, and actually it's so much more complicated than that. People are dealing with so many different things in life. It can be a way of managing, expressing, grounding, coping, surviving, and really for somebody to say it's a choice, I actually see where they're coming from. I see why they're saying that, because they're understanding that people have the capacity to, do X, Y, and Z. But in that moment of distress, or in that moment of dissociation, if it is dissociation, people are not really making decisions in the same way that you would make if you were feeling emotionally kind of like okay in that moment. I think about the times when I've self-harmed. If I was in a different emotional state, I probably wouldn't have done it. So it's very much dependent on the emotional state that somebody's in. So yeah, I would love to hear more of your thoughts. I've heard so many interesting points on Twitter, and it's been just so interesting for me to think about. And yeah, I just hope that understandings of self-harm and mental health just continue to improve, because still things are a little bit, some people don't really have full understanding yet, and hopefully we get there in the future. Thank you.